Hey folks, Matt Sharp here with another Pacific Angler Friday Fishing Report. We're filming for August 28th, so if it's nowhere near August 28th, click up here. This is a link to all the Friday Fishing Reports, and we do it every week, so I've probably got something more up to date for you. I'm saying every week with my tongue in my cheek because we missed last week, and ironically enough, it was the 1-year anniversary. I had to take some time off, had to chill out, decided to take a break from the Fishing Report for a week, but I'm back at it this week, and a big cheers to you guys. It was a year ago that we had the crazy idea to sit down, drink beer, talk fishing politics, talk fishing current events, as well as updates on current fisheries, and we have had so much fun. It was a heck of a year to try to pull it off, but we made it, and we couldn't have done it without you guys. We thought we'd have a few subscribers. There's now 2,000 of you tuning in, drinking beer, talking about fishing with me, and like I said, we really appreciate it. And with that in mind, we've got actually a pretty big report for you guys this week. We are going to be giving away that free $160 fly line. We had a review of this about 3 weeks ago where Rio has done some really interesting stuff to make their lines way more durable and way more slick casting. I'm gonna leave links to that up here so you can check that review out. You won't be able to win the free line anymore because we are gonna be announcing it at the end of this report, but you'll wanna stay tuned for that one. Now, the other big news is that they are going to be opening Chinook retention in a number of the areas in our local waters. We're going to look at the tides, we're going to look at the weather, see how that's going to affect things, and Jason has a bunch more details in the written version of the report going over that. Also, end of August, September is a time of shift when it comes to our fisheries, and when fisheries shift, the fishing can actually be excellent. It's time you really want to pay attention, and the big shift is now we're going to be moving into the Salmon River season, with usually the Vedder being the first one to get really positive reports of those fall salmon showing up. It may not be for a week or even 2 yet, but in the written version of the report, Alex goes over what to look at over the next 2.5 months on the Vedder River if you're planning to get out that way, and we'll talk about a little bit more in the back end of the report as well. We're also going to look at that weather that I talked about. We have really nice weather this weekend. Now, not too hot, but some sun and some cloud with a nice spread between the nighttime temperatures and the daytime temperatures. And this is actually really important. When we get cold nights with warm days, you're going to see fabulous fishing on the local trout fisheries, be it local lakes, Skagit, Thompson, or the interior lake fishing. We've had a few friends hitting the interior lakes and doing fairly well, and that should continue to improve, so we're going to touch base on that as well. Lastly, I've missed sharing a couple of Andre's flies with you, so you've got 2 for you this week. He has his famous/infamous pink Pam, which yes, is a pink salmon pattern, but one that we can put some tweaks in. I'll talk you guys through that so you can maybe use it to target coho or just load up the box if you're going to the island for pink fishing. And then he's got a cool hopper pattern as well that might be applicable for areas like the Thompson. We'll go over those in the back end of the report. As always, guys, you want to see more reports like this, consider hitting the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Let's get into her. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I gotta have a sip of my beer. Cheers. Oh, this is good. This is a orange and chocolate milk stout. I'm not usually into the funky beers, but Nurse Nat gave this to me. She drank 3 of them. They were given to her by Hella Cool. Big shout out to these guys for supporting the nurses. They could use some beer right now, and big shout out to Nurse Nat for stealing me one so I could enjoy it while we did the fishing report together. Now, let's jump right into the weather because it looks good. So pretty stable weather over the weekend with 20s with a really good spread on the nighttime temperatures. You're gonna hear me talking about this more. We look hard at the nighttime temperatures. We wanna see cold nights and warm days. Why? Because the bugs really pick up as well as the river temperatures cool down, so it brings in salmon nicely for us. So it's definitely something to start paying attention to. We might get a little hit on the local lakes where they pick up, where the fish have been warm and sort of lethargic for the last few weeks, but now start thinking about the fall. Throw it out to Kamloops and we start seeing the same thing. Friday we've got 30. Full disclosure, I'm filming Wednesday night, so these might change. Always check your weather before you go. But We're seeing 30 Friday, warm day, but it gets cool on Saturday and Sunday with 21 and 23. And then that spread is pretty big with 11 and 12 degrees in the nights. Now, as you go up in elevation, that's just gonna get colder. And we have had some friends going out lake fishing over the last week and doing pretty darn good, and we expect that to continue to be good. It should be good right into September, even into October, depending on how the weather goes. And the fall interior lake fishing is some of the best of the entire year and sometimes overlooked by a lot of folks. So if you were thinking about planning a lake trip, you weren't sure, it's definitely a good time to look at it right now and well recommended. Throw it out to the saltwater side of things. For the weekend, we got some wind Friday and some wind Saturday, but Sunday things chill out. So we're hoping that carries through to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for you guys next week. Again, links down in the description for the weather. Check that. By Friday, you should see Monday, and definitely by the weekend, you'll see well into next week if you're considering getting out. If you are getting out this weekend, we still cannot retain Chinook in a lot of the local waters. Make sure you're checking where you're fishing. And the fishing has been tough where we are allowed to keep them, which is mostly on that north shoreline and in front of the cap. They opened the cap last week, if you guys missed it, for any size. We had to clarify that with DFO, but you can keep any size fish in that immediate mouth of cap area. Again, make sure you're familiar with those areas in your rigs. And then we do have an 80 centimeter rule along the North Shore, at least for the weekend until Monday. The guides have been pulling fish out of there. They've been working their butts off, but they have been putting fish on the board. So is it worth it? Yes. Is it good? No, I'm not gonna lie. It's been tough, but still worth getting out. Throw it over into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday when we can push out to the bellboy, push around the corner. We're expecting really good things. A few of the guides who have genetic sampling tags have been going out and taking genetic samples in that area, and the fishing, from what I've heard, has been excellent. So we expect that to continue for you into September. Now, when we throw it out to the tides are a double-edged sword. For the beach fishermen, they look really good this weekend with nice big low tides early in the morning. We're sitting on Friday at one at 8:47. On Saturday, it is 9:48, and on Sunday, it's 10:41, but these are fairly big tides. As saltwater anglers out in boats, you'll want to focus on these slack tides, but know that there's a fair amount of moving water, so you will have to get pushed around in the back end of the day when we don't have a slack tide. Throw it out to the Vedder, and this one's important. So the Vedder is one that we usually start looking at hard around September 10th for that shift into salmon season. And what I mean by that is the coho and the early Chinook that are coming in. Yes, there were summer Chinook, but those have pretty much tapered off completely, and the ones in the system are quite old, and we don't recommend targeting them right now. The other conservation concern that I want to bring to your guys' attention is the sockeye. Now, we've been watching sockeye numbers really closely. Right across the board, we do not expect a sockeye opening this year, be it the Fraser, be it in the Saltwater, or any of her tributaries. The numbers are quite low and quite concerning. I'll tune in a little bit more when we have more information, but if you want to look at the fisheries notices down below, I'll have that in the description. What does this mean for the Chilliwack? Well, those fish are pushing into the Chilliwack, but they're at very, very low numbers. And there's one thing that's been brought to my attention by the hatchery managers and the biologists is that there are marked sockeye that they've put in to try to enhance these stocks of concern. But the problem there is some anglers might not identify them as sockeye, meaning they might think they're coho because they see the no adipose fin, and they might try to retain those fish by mistake. We want you guys to be very careful over the next 2 weeks of what you are retaining and identifying your catch before you bring it up on shore. If you should be getting into some sockeye, which they do bite, we do ask that you be very, very mindful, meaning do not drag them up on the rocks. Make sure they're released with the utmost care, and try not to target them, especially if it's by snagging or flossing. That's not the way we fish. We talked about that last week in the Report a Poacher episode. Links up here to the 2 weeks ago report where we talk about how you can report it and not ruin your day of fishing over it. Now, moving forward, we expect better reports this week of actual coho and Chinook, but it's usually not till about September 10th that we start seeing really good reports. And so bear that in mind when you're getting out. It might be good for a scout, but we're not at prime time yet. Last but not least, let's talk about some of Andre's flies before we give away that free fly line. So Andre has two for us this week. He has the famous/infamous pink Pam. It is a pink salmon pattern, and we are not on a pink salmon year. But for you fly tyers, you might want to take this pattern and tweak it a little bit. It's really simple, it's really easy. It's got some secret sauce to it, which is that glow-in-the-dark material, which no, we're not fishing at night with it. No, we're not fishing in deep, dark waters, but there's something that must be about the eye of the pink salmon that pick up on glow-in-the-dark materials. And it actually does apply to coho quite well. So if you want to take this pattern, tweak it, maybe throw it out in a chartreuse, throw it out in a teal blue color, can be very effective as well, something to consider for the box. The second pattern he has for us is a hopper style pattern, so more the interior river fisheries where we get lots of hoppers this time of year, and it's called the yellow cab. Super cool one. I haven't fished it yet, so I can't endorse it, but I'm gonna put a few in the box for next year, something you might wanna throw in there if you're heading up to the interior to do some river fishing in the next little bit, or something for next year as well. All right, let's give away the $160 fly line. That's what most of you guys have been waiting for. So this is the Rio Elite Gold. This is the 5-weight. This is the one we cut the back end off and torched to prove to you guys that it is actually more durable. And quite frankly, I wish I hadn't cut it off because the damage was minimal when we were running it over the granite rock out front of the shop, whereas that just torched all the other fly lines on the market. It's also really slick. If you guys want to check out that, I'm going to leave a link at the back end of the report for that because it's worth looking at. You won't be able to win the free line because we're announcing it right now. So let's pull out a name from the hat. Here we have it. I think there was like 130 of you who entered, so big thanks to the support on this video. I'm gonna shuffle it around. I'm not going to look. All right, I got one. Tommy Northcote, if this is your name, I'm throwing it on the floor. Who do we got? I got Joe Fish Flies. I want the line. Joe, you won the line. There she is. Congratulations, man. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for everyone for entering as well. And if you guys want to see those videos from Andre, I'm going to throw them right here. If you guys want to see the review on that fly line, because it's definitely worth looking at. It's a cool fly line for 2020. I'm going to leave that here. And as always, guys, you want to see more reports like this, consider hitting the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll catch you next week.